Blevins, Chief of Police.
Jay Bemke, committee member.
Shane Blazer, Mayor.
Ryan Hartman, Human Resources.
Jem Brown, Water and Light.
Ryan Austin, council member.
Matt Zacher, council member.
Thank you, and we also have Dean Veneman and Patrick Delaney, all the persons I believe on Zoom with us this afternoon too, and in the background we have our city clerk, Jennifer Gossick, so thank you all for attending. With that, we'll call the meeting to order. Item number 2, review and consider for approval an amendment to Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code, which would eliminate term limits for waterworks and lighting commissioners. I don't know who wants to start with this, or... Sure, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, this agenda item was on a previous legislative committee agenda and, at a meeting, and the committee actually approved a recommendation of it on a 3-0 vote. However, when it went to council, the council sent it back to legislative. I'm not quite sure, I don't know if I recall why that was, but I think they just wanted it sent back for more discussion. So it's back, it was in the packet, it's merely taking out the term limits. Term limits were something that were added fairly recently, I would say. We were capping the water and light commissioners to 2 5-year terms, and now it's proposed to remove the term limits, and I believe that Water and Works and Lighting, Jem Brown, the manager would manager. You're the big guy, at Water and Light, would probably want to speak to it if he could be recognized.
Jim, would you like to say anything?
Thank you. Yeah, this was on a previous agenda late last year, but it was also at the same time as we were trying to tax roll electric, so it kind of got sidetracked at that council meeting when the landlords all showed up. But there are really no reasons for the term limits. I've been at Water and Light now for 15 years. And this was actually when I was fairly new, so it's probably been enacted about 9 or 10 years ago. One of my commissioners at the time felt that if we instituted term limits at Water and Light, then possibly the city council would. Now, it was a harebrained idea, and if it would have happened today and a commissioner would bring that up, I'd tell him to jump in the river. But so technically, they're not needed. The council votes on them after each term, so if they're unhappy with the performance of one of our commissioners, they could appoint somebody else to serve. No other municipal utilities in the state of Wisconsin, or any elected office for that matter, have term limits. There are 82 municipal utilities in the state, and currently we're the only one with term limits, and that's probably partly my fault, but I was too much of a newbie at the time. So we respectfully ask to have them removed. And I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Anybody have any questions? Jay?
I have a comment. I can
Okay.
tell you I've been on this commission since probably April or May, and there is some value to having people on there. That this is, it's pretty technical. I can tell you, the rest of those guys are probably mad, but we did the budget, a month ago, and it ended up going 3.5 hours, and I think it was mostly for my benefit, so.
No, it goes that long every time.
Okay.
So you're learning quickly, but Jay is correct that the technical nature of the business and all the acronyms that are involved in the business, typically it takes 3 or 4 years for a commissioner to start feeling real comfortable. And that's typically why I do a lot of our meetings off TV screens, so they can at least ask questions and not feel inhibited and what have you. But he is correct. It's a technical gig.
I guess the last thing I'd like to say about these term limits for the appointed ones is it's not like we have people beating down our doors to get involved in these things. So I think they have a pretty good group over there right now, and I would support this language.
And I'd have to echo what Jay said. It's a learning process for most of the people that get on there, I think, and it takes time to get into that. And once they do, if they like to, and if they want to continue, and we think they're doing okay, that's fine. If we'd like somebody else comes forward and we'd want to replace them, we can. So it's it's there to do if we want. But I think what it takes to become knowledgeable to be on that in that position, it's good that we don't have term limits there. So committee, Matt.
Not that this would ever happen, but in the rare case that you have somebody on there that is more of a hindrance and problematic, you're not worried about them then staying too long and causing more issues than needed?
No, I mean, I think there's ways we can work that out. Thankfully, it hasn't been a problem since I've arrived in town, but I mean, the communication that we have with the city, I think that would be pretty easy to figure out.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Committee, I guess I'd entertain a motion. What you'd like to do?
I'll make a motion to amend Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code to eliminate the term limits for water works and lighting commissioners.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to eliminate terms, Chapter 2 for Waterworks and Lighting Commission. No further discussion. Committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Mr. Chair, if I may, quick.
Oops.
So just to be clear, if there is a member of the Waterworks and Light Committee that decides to vacate the chair or their appointment, it would just fall back to mayor's appointment, council appointment, to replace that person's seat, correct? Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll vote. All in favor respond by aye.
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 Aye. Both ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Jim. Thank you, Jim. Item number 3, review and consider an ordinance revising the secondhand dealer, article dealer, and pawnbroker ordinance. Chief, I guess I'll go to you, and you can start us off here with this.
Good afternoon. We are requesting a revision to the current ordinance in regards to pawnbrokers and secondhand dealers that will enable us to use a new program that we are looking to use called Leads Online. This ordinance revision would include a records keeping and a reporting provision for these dealers that they are required to keep certain records that are then uploaded into this Leads Online program. Currently, other agencies across the state, but specifically like Stevens Point, Marshfield, Wausau, Portage County, they all use this same program. And to boil it down, what would happen is that if someone, say, were to steal an item here in Wisconsin Rapids, but pawn it in Wausau, if they're using the Leads Online program in Wausau and that item is entered into the database, we search our database and find our item in Wausau, where currently that's nearly impossible to do. I used Leads Online at my current or former employer in Illinois, and it was very, very effective in solving a lot of these crimes. So with that said, we're requesting that we make the revision that includes the records keeping and reporting for these dealers to be written into the ordinance.
Any questions? Wait.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, Ryan?
I gave a call this afternoon to E-Way Sales and Pawn. That's the only pawnbroker in town in Wisconsin Rapids, I believe. I spoke to the general manager over there, and she had mentioned that they are currently using Leads Online.
I believe they have another location, not in Rapids. Where would it?
Port Edwards, maybe here.
Yeah, they have multiple locations, and they are using it right now, but we don't have access because we're not paying into it. So anyone can upload on themselves, but this ordinance would require them to do that. So I guess it wouldn't be a change for them.
Okay, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it seems like they're already going through this process already, so it wouldn't be any type of hardship, my understanding and what the manager had explained, so I'm all for this. That is a motion.
Is that a second? Or I will. The motion is second. To approve an ordinance revising secondhand dealer, article dealer and pawnbroker ordinance. There's no further discussion. Committee will vote. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 4. Discuss emergency declarations and COVID-19 product protocols and policies. I believe this is brought up with Alderperson Delaney. He's on Zoom. Patrick, would you like to start with this and see where we go?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm not able to make it there today. Ever since Dean said what kind of surgery he was going to have, I've had a scratch in my throat. So I don't want to get anybody else sick there. We had met with Ryan Hartman and Jace, and there's two different declarations that are going on. We have the employee one, and then we have one for the city that is renewed every month. The employee one, I think, is fine. I don't know if Ryan Hartman is there and can speak to that at all. In my opinion, that is fine. What we did discuss was putting some numbers to the emergency declaration that we do every month in 3 categories. One would be what % of the city population is being affected. 2, if the cases are rising by a certain percentage. And 3, what is the % of hospitalizations and or deaths? And I think if we just had some numbers put to this, we would be making more of a rational decision, not so much a decision based on emotion. So I did have more that I would like to discuss, but that would have been done, and I apologize that I'm not there. That's all I have.
So just to reiterate a little bit on what Patrick was saying, currently we have 340 active cases in the county. Our percentage positive in Wood County is higher than the state average. The state average is 9.6. The county is testing currently, this is through November 7th, at 15.2. And we are running at 54.8 out of 100,000 citizens that have the COVID-19 virus. So it's higher than the rest of the state. However, that said, it's been maintaining. We're a little bit higher today. Mondays are typically higher from what we've tracked for over the last year approximately, because the weekend tests all come in and they get those on Monday, I believe. As far as the city breakdown, I wasn't able to get that this morning. As far as how many cases we currently have in the city, Here with the organization itself, we are staying status quo, if not even better. Our employees are doing a good job of notifying the appropriate individuals if they just, for example, as what Mr. Delaney's doing right now, don't feel 100%, they are making the best decision to stay away or make the call or remove themselves from the workforce. So currently, we're running at very good numbers as far as infected individuals and people being quarantined at this time, and hopefully that'll continue. So that's really all I have.
Not really. I guess I mean, is there some certain action or, I guess I'm assuming next week at the council meeting, there's presently an emergency declaration in effect, so the council will need to decide whether to renew that or continue that. And is there, I mean, are we talking about having some standards or something for that time? Or I guess I'm just wondering what action or discussion regarding this might impact what happens next week, or are we, I guess I'm just wondering where to go from here based on this information, or if it's more just kind of look at the numbers each week at the time that or each month at the time that we consider the emergency declaration and make decisions then. I know at one point there was talk about some, certain metrics or barometers or what have you for triggering certain things. So, yeah, my question would just be going forward, what do I need to do? Something to prepare for next week with the emergency declaration, or do you need more information, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think one thing, you're right, Sue. We did talk about that, and when I met with Jay and Patrick, I think one number that we had proposed, or that I threw out there anyway, was that 10%. If we had a current infected employee population of 10%, that could be a potential trigger mechanism. That would put us at approximately 20 employees within the city. But we didn't get much farther than that, because if you're talking certain departments, if you're looking at emergency personnel, they're affected, with PD and fire, they're affected a bit differently, or essential versus streets. Again, with the weather season coming up, there's different caveats to all that with how the county facilitates that with us. But I had thrown out a primary number of 10% of the population of the employees being infected, and I think that's where we started with that. Thank you.
I guess I was part of that conversation, but it's been a little bit. Is this 10%? I don't remember. Would it automatically trigger this declaration? Would it be just a benchmark for us to vote on it each month? I guess I'll kind of refer that back to Patrick if he remembers.
I think what we had discussed was, I think Ryan had said some school districts are at 20%. And as far as the city, I think it could be a lot less, just because for garbage pickup and for the safety for the police and fire department, I think that could be a lot less. But then when it comes to the overall population, the emergency declaration that we do every month, I think that 10% would be fine.
Tom, if I can ask. So Patrick, would we still want to vote on this every month, or if we hit this benchmark, would this trigger this? I don't remember if we had that discussion.
we did not discuss that it would automatically go into effect. There are protocols that the mayor has through the city that he already has the authority. This just gives him additional authority for like the city itself, businesses and whatnot. So we really didn't discuss that.
I have another question. This may be a question for Tim. Maybe Sue, you could answer this, but if we go back to when this started, did we have to have this declaration in place to get in on some of the COVID funds? I guess my question, what it comes down to is there, if we don't have this declaration, is there a possibility that we could be losing out on some funding?
It's my understanding that no, that we would not lose out on any funds, that the declaration was not a condition of any grants or funds received. I would confirm that with Tim, though, but I'm 99% sure that that's not an issue. I mean, but having said that, it's possible that actions that are taken because of the emergency declaration in terms of, you know, the enhanced leave that was given, you know, those things that we were getting reimbursed for were because, you know, we made the emergency declaration and then had the flexibility to do those types of things, which then were eventually reimbursed by those funds. So, but I don't think that we need this emergency declaration in order to qualify for, you know, to be in a pool of people in order to get certain funds.
Well, I guess the question is on the agenda is just have it discuss the protocols and policies. Are we looking to take action tonight, Patrick? Or are we just looking to push this conversation? What are you thinking?
I really just wanted to start a conversation on it. I really wanted to be there for this. Like I said, I'm sorry that I didn't make it, but I think you're probably glad that I'm not.
I guess my only fear is it takes a long time to get this group together and to act on it. If there's something where we could refer back to council to keep the discussion going, I think would be a good place to start.
But can you vote on something or can you hold out something that was not voted on? So you said it'd be on the agenda, Tom, but I mean, we can't hold out something that there wasn't an action item on, correct?
Right. Well, the emergency declaration is going to be on the agenda, so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so I guess I'm thinking if there could be more discussion at that point with all of the alders, and then whether there's I guess yeah, it definitely can be discussed, because we're going to be discussing the,
Okay, well, that makes sense then. Thank you.
Just a couple of clarification. Are we talking about a set of, numbers to go off of? Is that for the whole city or for the city employees, like for the organization of the city? When you're thinking about this, Patrick, are you thinking about the city overall, or are you thinking about Wisconsin, the city of Wisconsin, the organization, or both?
There's two declarations that are currently active, one for the city employees and one that we do every month. So,
Okay.
so one for the city employees, I'm completely fine with. The other one is the one that I think we should discuss more.
And in the end, what I'm understanding is we're looking for a number, like a number that you went with the three numbers in the beginning of the conversation. And are we just looking to plug in a number that we feel comfortable with and that just gives us a standard that says, without, thinking about it too much, we're considering this a state of emergency? Like when it hits these numbers, we're in a state of emergency?
That is correct, yes.
So then the numbers itself, they're kind of arbitrary. But in the end, is that what we're kind of looking to bring to a vote, is what those numbers would be, or if we even want that number at all? Or do you want more leeway to make it, more up to the discretionary?
I think just having it out there that people can have a good reference point as to this is, even if we go back and look at what we did in the past, if there's a way to do that, just so that it's not a knee-jerk reaction every time this happens, that yes, we do have protocols in place and we're making smart decisions.
Is there a number out there with the county, or, sorry?
I believe, I'm not sure, I'm not aware of a number with the county. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, with WRPS used 20% as a trigger point for them, and I don't know if that was just at the high school level or if that was district-wide, but I know that I had heard at some point they were using 20%, so.
So really, for our case, that 20% would initiate the emergency declaration, but the mayor still has discretion to what he's going to do with that in the end, correct? So it's really just that trigger point of, okay, now we're declaring it this, and now it gives the mayor some discretionary room to make decisions if things continue to get worse fast, right? So in the end, are we just looking for that number?
Sorry, Matt, I'm just clarifying, that 20% figure, are you asking that would be the trigger point for the employees of the city, or outside of that, since Patrick was okay with everything there, it would be outside for the city more so?
I think that's what I was getting at, yeah.
Okay.
Because Patrick said, and I think, so you're saying 10%, right, is kind of where you get worried? Within the city?
Within the employee organization, I would, because that would be 20.
Yeah.
However, if we have a group of, 40 people at the street department, and a few all of a sudden pop up in one day, I'm going to get worried. But if I have one in different departments all over the place,
Right.
okay, that's monitoring, but 10 would put us at 20 people. 10% would put us at approximately 20 people. That's why I was just concerned if we were going with 20% for an employee group, that would put us at 40, and then I would be a lot more worried. So I'm fine with 10%.
So are we able to get a number, like 20% of the people in Wisconsin Rapids currently have COVID? are we able to get that from the county, or is it more spread out than that? Is that really like Wisconsin Rapids area?
Their distribution charts do show, I believe, the population size, so we probably, Sue, are you familiar? I mean, I'm just going off the dashboard with the county, and it's broken down into municipalities. So without venturing too far, I think I could probably find that information, but I would 10% of, say, 20,000, for the city, but or do you want to look at the school district area? Now you're looking at you're including Beer and Grand Rapids. That's how the county is breaking down this. They got Beer and Grand Rapids and Wisconsin Rapids as one area, and then Port Edward, Saratoga, and Nakusa as somewhat of another. Then you got your Marshfield in the western part of the county.
Okay. So I guess it just comes back to that number, but I'm not sure if anybody wants to actually put a number on it.
Right.
I'm getting mixed emotions, I guess. So I guess, but I just wanted to clarify that that's really what we're looking for, is this, if we're going to do this, then is 20% the number that of cases, active cases in Wisconsin Rapids area at one time that triggers that declaration. So then could we make a motion to say we want to find that number? Like, do we want to find that number and agree on that number, or do we want to make a motion to say we don't even want to do that? I guess that's what it kind of comes down to right now. I'm done clarifying for the moment.
Sue?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the whole nature of the emergency declaration is really, which can be invoked by the mayor, is because something happens, and I know we're just talking about COVID-19 right now, I'm assuming, because obviously there's a tornado, a flood, a windstorm, something like that. There's, I mean, you always have to retain that flexibility of the mayor being able to call that or declare that emergency, right? And in those situations, those with FEMA, those are usually situations where you probably need to declare an emergency or might need to in order to receive certain funding. But I guess for COVID-19, I mean, right now, you've basically said you're in this emergency right now, so, right? I mean, for the past couple of months. And isn't it, when do you stop the emergency versus when you, or I guess, or if you're going to continue? And I think in order, the mayor does have some authority to make operational decisions regarding employees and so on, but I think it's nice to have that he could make that declaration in order to do things even with employees in terms of their behaviors and people coming in and out of the building, or whether people wear masks or not, or anything like that. So I guess, so, the emergency declaration that you pass each month is for him too, and it is for internal, taking actions internally that otherwise might require an HR meeting, or might require a job description change, or might require all types of different things. So I guess, unfortunately, the nature of the emergency is such that the mayor and you are kind of supposed to know it when you see it, and then decide how long it lasts and when it should, so it's, I realize you're just talking about COVID-19 now, and you're talking numbers of when they're either going to reinstate it or get out of it. But obviously, the bigger picture is for emergency declarations that they're such that, if the mayor declares one and then by the next council meeting you don't think it's appropriate, then you just don't renew the declaration. And I know Patrick had mentioned something about he just didn't want these emergency declarations, you know, declared by the mayor when there's really no good emergency, kind of outside of COVID-19. But, you know, that's kind of the nature of it, though, that if you don't agree, then you, so I guess I don't really have any more clarification for you other than making the larger point about the emergency declaration and, you know, and there is the difference between internal and external decisions, but they're all pretty much covered by the emergency declaration, the one that you renew each month. Not that the mayor couldn't make some decisions on his own without that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir, Ryan.
So I do agree. I feel there should be some type of threshold when it comes to the emergency declaration caused by COVID-19. Whether that be 10% or 20%, I guess I'm not an expert, so I really don't have an expert opinion on it. I would say, you know, maybe modeling after Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools isn't a bad idea. Sounds like their threshold is 20%. At that point, I would imagine they start limiting class sizes, going online, virtual, things like that. Maybe it makes sense to put a number on it. That way, we're not guessing. There's a number. We hit that number. It's an emergency declaration. We're below that number, and we are no longer in emergency. So I would be in favor of 20%, kind of mimicking Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools.
Was that a motion?
Not yet. I'd like to hear a little more discussion, if possible.
I guess I agree with Patrick. It's not a bad idea to have a benchmark. I think probably 10% is too low. And I do agree with you that if this is what the school district is, I guess in my mind, the whole problem with this is it's fine if Wisconsin Rapids does that, but if Grand Rapids and Buren and Stevens Point and everybody else isn't doing it, it really doesn't matter what we're doing, I don't think. But I guess just for this declaration, I would support 20%.
Ryan?
Just for an example or a quick clarification, so if we're using 20% of the population of the city of Wisconsin Rapids of residents, that would mean that there would be 3,600 people actively infected. That would be the 20% mark of 18,000 people. Right now, we're currently at 340 active. So it would have to go tenfold for it's just for clarification because I looked at the county number. We have 340 active cases in the county with a population of approximately 72,999 as of 2019. That puts us at a 0.00457 infection rate of the county population. So if we did go to Wisconsin Rapids itself, we'd need 3,600 people. Not need, we don't want that, but 3,600 would be our trigger.
I guess I'd like to see, if we're going to do anything, and I don't know if I am ready to do anything, but before we do that, I'd like to see some more research put into that, have some type of a, what number it would be, how many that would affect, how many have to be, just as you said, Ryan, if we did that with 20%, we're talking 3,500 people or whatever already. You know, and get down to what actually what would actually kick in at that point in time, because there's going to be a lot of sick people by that point in time. So if we want to proceed further with this and whatever, to I guess what type of or what what type of numbers do we put on it? I don't know what WRPS has, if it's 20%, I don't know how that relates out to whatever, that's obviously the whole school district, I imagine, but, even that, it's, you know, I guess I'd have to see some more definitive numbers, I think, and see what would be what would kick in, I guess, what actually would be the, you know, what would happen if something kicked in, you know, what
I think now that everybody's kind of had a chance to see a little bit of this, would it be wise to continue this discussion when we bring up the COVID emergency at the council meeting so everybody can be involved in it?
I think that'd be a good idea, and maybe something that even that night we don't even haven't, you know, agree on something, but may direct us in a different direction and where to go or something too, to draw up something. So, and for those that are viewing this and looking at it, are going to hear about it, they can give some thought to it before then to see what would happen, because I think the number would be important. If it'd be that 20% to kick in and something like that would be it's an awful high standard to put out there that you don't want to hit before something, you know, before some action would be taken. You'd want to catch something before that, I would think. So, I guess if it's all right with everybody in the committee, how about it if we just, I guess, it'd be reported and we get to the emergency declaration at the council meeting and have further discussion on it there. Okay, if there's no further, I guess, opposition to that, that's what we'll do. We'll further this at the council meeting next week on Tuesday. And maybe between now and then we can look at what some other people are or are not doing, and if there are numbers that make sense or not sense to do. So it's a strange time that we're in. Okay, with that, I think that'll wrap up number 4, if that's okay. Item 5 is to discuss vaccination mandates. I think, Patrick, that came from you too, if I remember right, at the council meeting?
That is correct.
Okay.
Would you like me to take it from here, I guess?
Go ahead.
It's going to be shorter than my referral, mostly because I can't talk that long without losing my voice. So I take care of people with elderly people, take care of people with different disabilities, different diseases and stuff. The state has what they call resident rights. These rights include the ability to refuse any medication or medical procedure for any reason. And they don't have to give any religious reason or anything like that. If they're diabetic and they decide that they're not going to take their insulin, there's nothing we can do about it. I've always been a big proponent of resident rights because you're talking about somebody's individual body and they have the ability and right to decide what goes on in their body. So what I would like is I asked Matt to forward forward a paper. I don't know if you guys all have that or not.
Does everybody have that?
Kind of a,
We may. Okay, I think we do, Patrick.
it's a declaration, and I'd just like to get your thoughts on it. And I would like that to come up for a vote. Even if it does get shot down, I still would like to know what people's thoughts on that. If somebody doesn't have the right to their own body, what goes in it, what other right or freedom do they have that matters? Is there any other right or freedom that you would have that matters more than being in control of your own body? With that, I'm done. Thank you.
I can speak to this if nobody in the room is.
Okay, go ahead. I'm reading it over here yet, so.
Oh, okay. I can wait till everybody's done and have a chance to read it and go over it, but basically I have, and I'm pretty much forward in kind of in the same manner we just handled the last item by definitely moving it in front of the full council for discussion. But from my end, I would definitely like this to be brought for the public discussion at the next council meeting. That would be my. Everybody feel free to read through it.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes,
how many city employees do we have here in Wisconsin Rapids?
Approximately 200 to 250, part and full.
My concern is obviously the federal vaccine requirement that has been temporarily halted. If that were to come to fruition, this would outweigh the federal mandate? Is that what I'm gathering?
I'm going to give the city, actually, I won't even speak, I'll let the city attorney, I think we read the same article and she's the expert.
Well, a federal law would preempt a state law, so the federal law would be superior to that, and so the state law would not apply. However, the mandate that you're talking about, the ETS rule, that does not apply to state and local government employers and employees in Wisconsin, because we don't have our own state OSHA approved plan. We go by federal OSHA for private, and then so OSHA is not involved in state and local employer safety issues. So because we don't have a state plan, an OSHA state plan, that mandate does not apply to us. So whether we had 100 employees or not, it doesn't matter, because that mandate specifically regarding the vaccinations does not apply to state and local governments in Wisconsin. And it's the same for, I think there's 21 or 22 other states that mandate would not apply for government employees. It would apply for private employees with more than 100 employees, but not us.
Well, this might be one, I think, maybe to, again, maybe, as Dean, you said, maybe for next Tuesday, but we can discuss it here further. I guess that, on the very bottom, if businesses can require patrons to, and it says provide documentation, but I guess somehow it'd be to identify that they've certified that they've had vaccinations or whatever. I guess, if a business wanted to operate like that, again, would that not be up to them to do? That they would want that they'd want people to show proof? I'm not saying that would be, that there is, but if that's the clientele that they would want to have, would they not be able to do that? That's why I think when you start writing sometimes blanket things, there's always maybe start at the back end of the sentence sometimes and read backwards too of what there is. So where it makes it, you look at it on first glance, it might make sense or whatever, but if there would be somebody that would want to do the opposite. So I guess right now that'd be my 2 cents worth.
Huh? But he's so slow. And that's why people don't want to listen. He's too slow.
Who do that? Who do we have? Oh. Yes, sir, Matt.
So we could start a big discussion now, I guess, or we could kind of save it for Tuesday when we'll probably talk more about it at that point. Or do we want to get into it now? I mean, I think everybody has an opinion one way or the other on it. It's just a matter of seeing if enough people want to vote for it or not. Moving it
Go ahead.
forward.
Jay?
I will tell you right now, I am not in favor of mandates, but I am also not in favor of telling businesses how to do business. So that's where I come down on this.
Jay, could you repeat what you said after you're not in favor of mandates?
I don't think it's appropriate for us as a body to tell businesses how to do their business. I just don't think that's our role.
Matt? Once again?
So I know we can go back and forth on this, and again, I know it's, are we talking about how to do business, or are we talking about the power they have over the people that they employ? But then I know it goes round and round because we already have vaccines, but I don't think they've ever been mandated that you have to do this. You have to put this in your body to at least be employed here. And we're going to see what happens. I mean, this is by far is not over. And it's starting at a high level, and we'll see if it comes down lower and lower to the smaller and smaller companies and how they can, have that power. And in the end, I don't think I don't necessarily know if this would have, any say over what, power over what could come down. But I think it's making a statement that we're for personal choice in terms of what you do and don't, are being forced to do to your body or not do to your body.
We're talking about personal choices here, but we're telling businesses what they have to do. And if I read on from section 2 to the end, it's pretty clear that, unless I missed it, it's not for employees, it's for patrons and customers. Well, as a customer, if I choose not to do business with this place because of this, then I won't go in. But I don't think it's our place to tell that business how to conduct their business.
Mr. Mayor,
Well, I guess I'll speak a little bit. I agree. I think, a choice on vaccine has to be a choice. But as a business, I have concerns that if, as a business owner, I should be able to determine whether or not I want unvaccinated or vaccinated people or proof to come and use my business. Because like Jay said, that would be a choice on the customer's end. Now, to your point about the vaccine, I don't feel it's right for me to say yay or nay whether or not you should have to take the vaccine. Because God forbid if something negative happened, then I would have to live with that also, should somebody have a bad reaction. But as for supporting my business, and if I choose to say, I want proof of vaccine before you come in my door, I think as a business owner, that would be that right of that business owner to pick and choose who he wants as customers. Or the customer makes that choice, whether or not they want to support that business. Just my thoughts.
thank you. Matt?
What precedence does that start up again, and then where does it end, I guess? Like, we fought really hard to get away from stuff like segregation, and I realize that's a trigger word. I'm not meaning to use it in that way, but at the same time, that's kind of what it is. It just comes down to a different format. But again,
Well, deciding not to get a vaccine, you're not in a protected class, right? So,
but deciding to get a vaccine, as it's looking right now, is going to put you in a protected class.
no.
Maybe.
Okay. I'm trying to explain kind of the difference between segregation and discrimination because of color, right? Versus whether you get a vaccine or not. I'm just saying there's no recognized. A business owner can't discriminate, right? And in order to be discriminated against, you're in a class, protected class of people. There's only certain things that are recognized as discrimination. And I'm just telling you that the not being vaccinated is not a protected class per se, right? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like the segregation thing, I think is a little different.
I am waiting. I say we've got this whole bundle here. Let's just kick her back to council on Tuesday. We'll have the discussion when everybody's here and take action on it then. Bring an extra one. There you go.
My mic wasn't on.
We're talking about it at that point. Hopefully by Tuesday, I'll be able to be in person. See.
Okay. So with that, item 5 will be in the report, and again, as we get to that on the council agenda, we'll have further discussion that evening and see what or anything that we go with it, and I guess during that period of time, if there's more info or numbers or whatever we, on both these last 2 items that we can come up with before that, we'll do that, so. Thank you. And with that, we don't have on here to adjourn, but I would entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else. Make sure I didn't, vaccination mandates were the last that I had on my list here, so. If there's nothing else, committee, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.